Hey there, peeps. This is Heather Cate, spiritual coach for the creative soul with peacockandpaisley.com. And I'm here today to talk about um, not getting hung up on the fence. Get off the fence with that narcissist. Get off the fence from an abuser. Don't leave your heart stuck there. This is Wednesday wisdom for you. And I am thinking of some clients of mine that I absolutely love. Really wonderful people, kind, caring, perceptive, hardworking, dedicated, loyal, and they will go the extra mile for anybody. They're perceptive. They can see what's happening to and for somebody else, and they want to help them. So one of the ways they get stuck continuing a connection with an abuser, even though they're divorced or they've separated ways in whatever form, is that they try to help people, and unfortunately some people, you have to save yourself first and let those other people do what they need to do. And when you're in a difficult situation with somebody, if you've gotten away from somebody who's a violent abuser, you first of all, you pretty much know that anybody else that's going to be with them is going to get hurt, and you may feel for those people, but at the same time, you've really got to look out for yourself first. And one of the tools in doing that is to daily practice your spiritual grooming. And if there's nothing else that you can do, make sure you do cord cutting. And go to my website, peacockandpaisley.com, and go to the search bar and type in cord, and you'll find an explanation of it, and also a guided meditation video. It's really simple. You can do it in just a couple of seconds. But usually it's a little bit better to take a little bit longer, be really thorough. But it's really crucial. It's really important. And even though, sometimes our hearts are still connected to, we still love the person, that did things that were really wrong to us, but it's really important to honor yourself and let go of everything that continues to traumatize you. And a narcissist will always keep going. They are like the Energizer Bunny of evil. They will just keep going and going and going. So the only thing that's good for you in a situation like this is to just let go of it. You can love them still. This gets a little complicated, but you can fine tune your psychic and spiritual perception of what you're doing with this. You can love them, but you don't have to be involved with them. And it gets tricky if you have kids and young kids, and you're like or parallel parenting, however you want to describe it. But it's really important to keep your eye on the prize, which is you. And in this case, if you have kids, you and your kids. Your kids need you. And if you're trying to rescue somebody else, that's incredibly admirable, but you've got to do it in a way that's going to be good for you, which probably means not rescuing them. I know other people have a different opinion on that, but if you're in a position where you're really just starting this process, and if you are noticing that your ex is causing problems, you've got to keep your eye on the prize. Okay, so what are some of those problems that I'm being vague about? Some of them can be as obvious. The obvious ones are easier to sort of rationalize, understand, and deal with. But some of the trickier things are subtle and relatively unseen. And those are spiritual attack. Spiritual attack happens with verbal abuse, with physical abuse, but then there's also the completely invisible spiritual attack. Something that can give you like a physical headache. It can put you into a bad mood that isn't really yours. Can cause you physical illness. you might want to call it a curse. It's sort of like cursing. Um, Things can go wrong for you in your life that should have been perfectly fine. There are a variety of things, and you just have to be open-eyed about it. Be rational. Look for the obvious other answers, but these things do exist. This is part of what I help people with, and it's the scary shit, honestly. Um, but it is possible for an everyday nice good person to learn spiritual self-defense. There are psychic tools for protecting yourself and your children, your pets, your home, your job, your vehicles, everything. And it's very helpful to learn them. Some of these tools are super simple, and they're all natural. There's, you don't need drugs. You don't need, um, you don't need tools that you have to carry around with you, but you do want to wear psychic armor. You want to wear spiritual protective armor. And learning how to do that is part of what you can learn in my course, and part of what you can learn with private coaching with me. And it's really it's vital that you do this. I love the people that I work with, and part of what I do is encourage them to continue being that loving, kind, perceptive, caring person, while at the same time learning to honor themselves and protect and care for themselves. Which can sound easy, but a lot of times if you've been trained from childhood, like if you had narcissistic parents or other family members, if you've been trained to be a servant, in a sense, in more senses than one, to them, then it really is important to reframe and relearn, so that you can, understand what's been happening and learn how to change that for yourself, because it is totally possible to do. So many people stay stuck in, or feel like they are stuck in, and they are stuck until they figure out what's going on and they change it. But in patterns, and always thinking about the abuser, feeling bad about themselves, attracting unhealthy relationships. But you can change that, and you don't have to go through a billion years of therapy to do it. You can change it by understanding spiritual principles, and how some of these things work, and then applying very simple tools. It takes practice. It takes some coaching so that you understand what you're doing and how it's working and not working. But it's like, in a sense, like learning how to ride a bike. And kind of like once you get it, once you learn how to do it, it's much easier to pick up where you've left off and to keep doing it. And then it just seems like second nature. And if for some reason you stop doing it, you can actually pick it back up again, and kind of like muscle memory, it will come back to you. And there may very well be parts of you that actually remember how to do this from previous lifetimes, where you had skills and abilities that, in a sense, are still within you, and you still have access to them. You just have to learn how to access them. So tell me in the comments what you are working on, what some of your insights have been, and how things are going in your life. Have you ever tried mudras? They're hand gestures. Like this is a mudra. This is a mudra. If you've seen any of some of the old icons of Christ and Buddha, they're both doing the same hand gesture, like this. They're doing all sorts of different ones, but those are mudras, and they're very simple, easy, non-toxic, totally holistic healing tools. And you can actually take that as a separate course on my website also. I just talked with someone today who's using them really successfully in a tough living situation. She's actually, she's left an abuser and she's moved back into a family home where things are a little bit challenging. So she's realizing where some of her stuff is coming from, some of her issues, and she's using the mudras to help control her energy. And as you do that, you start to realize, what is your energy, what's your personal feeling, what's your experience versus what is somebody else's. That if you're an empath, you may be absorbing it and then therefore experiencing it, but you can control that. And then if it's not what the other person is experiencing but what they're trying to force into you, you can learn how to stop that. So if you're an empath, these are incredibly helpful tools, even if you're not an empath. But everybody has intuition. Everybody has some level of empathy or empathicness. And being an empath means that you can experience other people's feelings, both emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And if you're not aware of that, it can come as a real surprise. It can be challenging. One of the first things that made me realize I really needed to learn what the heck was going on with me was when I went to console a relative whose brother had died tragically, suddenly, like really out of the blue. He was young and he had a massive heart attack and just died. And for we were not close, but I felt for his brother and his wife, and I went to go visit them and console them. And I ended up being overcome with grief, and they were so kind, consoling me. I was crying, and it really, I was mortified because, of course, that was not what I'd gone there to do. I'd gone there to help them, just to be supportive and kind. And I felt like I ended up taking, their time and energy that they needed for themselves. So I left that thinking, okay, that's not how I personally felt about it, but I was definitely experiencing that. What was it? And then I learned that's can be part of being an empath. The key to that is learning how to control it. Learning how to control what you take in, realizing what's your own and what is somebody else's, and then then it's much easier to figure out how to act on it. And of course, you don't have to be sort of run through the mill by somebody else's, by experiencing somebody else's emotions. When you're an empath and you don't know how to do these things, I think it can make it even more difficult to stop someone from manipulating you spiritually and emotionally. And narcissists are experts at doing that, partly because they're not just operating on their own. They have spiritual beings that are helping them to do this. Now, at the same time, the ones that are really smart also are, narcissists are very observant, and you can think about it as they are not able to access joy on their own. They're not able to access positive energy, so they have to suck it out of somebody else, just like a vampire does. They like people that have juicy joy energy, and those tend to be empaths. So if you're already open because you don't know how to close off your spiritual system, then that leaves you extra vulnerable to a narcissist who can come along and just absolutely, sink their teeth into you and then suck this out of you. You can feel it happening, but you can stop it. You can control the energy that you give out, and still, maintain, if you need to, a working relationship with that person. So these are some of the skills that I teach people, and I would love to hear about your personal experiences as an empath or with a narcissist, and how your energy flow goes, and if during the process of leaving a narcissist, or afterwards you have found yourself in that same kind of a situation where you really feel for the people who are vulnerable to that narcissist and you want to help them. Tell me a little bit about it. Tell me in the comments, or tell me in if you're finding this on the podcast, you can leave me a voice message, and I can either, let me know if you want to keep it private or if I can put it into the podcast, and I'll answer things for you. You can also contact me on my website at peacockandpaisley.com/contact. So I look forward to talking with you. Peace, everybody.